Before I really took piano playing all too seriously, without completely finishing all steps of the piano piece, I hopped on to the next one. I come home tired from school, walk to my piano, feeling demotivated, I start looking at everything pessimistically. My pieces are too difficult, they aren't even that beautiful anymore, and there's still so much work left. Besides, I haven't even finished reading it. I grab my phone, go to YouTube to listen to a new piece to start practicing. Time flies by, and after listening for 30 minutes, I go to YouTube and look for the sheet music of my next piece. I felt like there was just something small missing. Some small steps I could follow to consistently finish the pieces I started, without wasting time on pieces I wouldn't even finish anyways. Now, here's the framework that I've developed over the years so you can save time and learn from my mistakes. Before we even start playing, we have to choose a piece according to our current piano level. As tempting as it may be to just print out a PDF of our dream piece, it isn't possible to achieve it in this way. As with many things in life, we'll have to go there with a detour. Let's say your dream piece is the first ballade by Chopin. There are several techniques an intermediate pianist just doesn't control yet, making it impossible to learn all of these simultaneously. Coming across rapid octaves for the first time in a Chopin ballade would be a clear indicator that the piece is too difficult. I do agree though that progress is made by slightly reaching out of your zone of ability, but this was always too abstract for me as a piano student, as I, like many others, always stretched this meaning to my own delusion to play the pieces I loved. To solve this problem, I believe we can set up a simple rating system of piano pieces from 1 to 10, so we can scale the ranks of piano playing, just like leveling up in a video game. Assume you're currently playing this Chopin waltz, which I'd rate a 3 out of 10. Generally, you'd be able to extend to a level 4, like the first movement of the Beethoven Moonlight Sonata, but not to level 5, for example, which would be a piece like Debussy's first Arabesque. I understand there are some exceptional cases where this doesn't apply, as some pieces may seem really difficult, but really only focus on one difficult technique, like Chopin's Opus 25 No. 2. If you've developed very strong fingers as a result of playing many small etudes and Czerny pieces, for example, you might just be ready for this etude. This, however, doesn't mean you're at level 7, just that your abilities are very unbalanced and that you should focus more on all-around pieces. Many might argue that ratings are subjective, but I believe if we were to take a group of experienced pianists and let them all rate pieces they know very well, the ratings would likely not deviate more than a single point. I also don't believe this makes piano playing any less fun, as now you're setting up a plan that you can track, so you always feel like you're advancing. At the same time, you will actually be improving faster, as you're less likely to waste time on pieces out of your reach. If you're unsure about the level for your pieces, just let me know in the comments and I'll answer with a difficulty rating. Write down the fingering. During this phase, you could also be trying to memorize. If you do so, you will progress even faster. But this takes a lot of mental effort. If you put in the effort to already start memorizing your pieces, your brain will start noticing more patterns and structures. This is because in order to memorize something, we don't just memorize notes and rhythmic values separately. Instead, we find substructures, like scales and chords, which we can recognize. Take this easy example. But always remember, tip number 1 is to take it slow while staying mindful. I believe that learning a piece is mainly a linear process. Before you can continue on to the next step, you have to finish the earlier one. You're only allowed to go past the reading phase when you're able to play the entire piece through in one sitting at a slow and consistent tempo. With longer pieces, by the time you're starting to read the last page of a piece, your tempo for the first page will already be a lot higher. You'll have to set your tempo to the tempo that you can play at the hardest passage of the entire piece. Otherwise, there will continue to be unevenness in how far you've completed each segment of your piece. Your reading skills itself will improve as you go. There are some tricks to improve them more quickly, but that's beside the point right now. As long as you keep replaying parts of the pieces you can't play fluently yet, Your subconscious muscle memory will do the rest. Just remind yourself to be mindful, is to start where you play each time, so your brain stays alert. This also helps to connect different passages across the piece. Memorization is the bridge between the technicalities and the musicality. It's impossible to start focusing on interpreting if you've still got to keep your eyes on the sheet music while playing. Any piece you stop playing before completely memorizing isn't finished and would be a missed opportunity to work on what matters, the musicality. Unlike commonly believed, a memorized piece doesn't just mean it's in your muscle memory. You also have to mentally remember the piece. To train your memory, you can take your sheet music with you to the sofa, for example, and try to mentally reconstruct the entire piece of music. Constantly pushing your brain forms new neurological connections and seeks discomfort. If you're extreme, you want to be able to completely rewrite a piece from scratch. You'll be surprised what this does to your pianistic ability. Many have never tried to train their memory away from the piano, while it's one of the most important aspects of piano playing. Test yourself. Think of a piece you're currently playing, hear it inside your mind, and see how long your mind can keep up until it forgets how the music continues. Finally, at the fourth and last stage, the fun starts, and now you can start thinking about interpretation. And this is where a piano teacher helps the most. Here you activate your artistic mind, and this is where the difference between a mediocre pianist and a great one is made. Yet, this is the step most pianists skip. Now we refine every intonation and come up with a clear dynamic plan throughout the piece. You think about the meaning of the music and attach a color palette. For gifted musicians, this skill comes from itself. While you're away from the piano, it's so beneficial to add a poetic image to the piece you're playing. Envision a story in the piece you're playing. Your inspiration could come from a personal event in your life, a movie, or just nature. Try to find a meaning in the smallest of motives and structures in a piece. Here are some ideas. Take Ravel's Pavane, for example. The middle voices could be a clock in the corner of the ballroom. An octave in the bass could be some bells ringing in the mountains. A gunshot, a sigh, or a royal horn announcing a speech. Tremolos could be fire, and arpeggios could be waves of water, all depending on your imagination. A simple melody could become your heavy backpacking trip in the mountains, or a recent stressful moment in your life. As long as you remind yourself of the meaning you've assigned to the notes, a meaningful interpretation will follow. It's important to note that many pianists have different ways of approaching things, and as you improve, more liberties start to slip into your practice habits. However, for me personally, having an ordered practicing schedule results in more musical outcomes, as well as doubling my learning time. Let this be a foundation for your own practice routine. Subscribe, and if you have a question, let me know.